Yeah, no problem. So I started modeling when I was 14 in London. By the time, and a very quick synopsis, by the time I was 18, I was kind of over it. So came out of London, moved back to the Shire and started my own agency, which I still have today, AMM. And from there, I very quickly realized that casting was something I was in it naturally able to accomplish well, and building great relationships with clients was my thing. Obviously producing came into that as well, but casting was my nook, if you like, putting the right people in front of the right people. And that's it to date. From there, I naturally progressed into film. It was a natural progression for me to transition into film, and currently on my 10th film and loving every minute of it. You know, they say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, and there's nothing truer for me. So yeah, loving the journey I'm on at the moment. That's a really good question, actually, because I think that I'm quite niche in what I do. What I learned really quickly whilst modelling is that I would be one of 50 girls at a casting, and I would look at the brief and often be told that, well, you're not the right size, you don't have the right hair colour. I'm thinking, gosh, these agents are just filling these studios with people. They're not actually reading a brief. Whereas what I do as a model agent before going into the film and casting and going into cast films, I read that brief and I may only send 3-5 people max, but you will really struggle to choose between them because they will fit your brief. That's my niche. I work really closely with the talent and, you know, on accents and, you know, everything, every little bit, because I'm like, well, I've been given a brief. I'm a Virgo and we are so straight down the line, and I'm intricate with those details, and my clients respond really well to that and they appreciate it because, you know, time is wasted, and that's not the talent's fault because they're just going dutifully to a job. As I did as a model, I would just go along with my trainers on, my shoes in my bag, and I'd stand there willing, bright-eyed, and then to be told that I don't fit the brief. And I'm like, but I've been sent here. So that's what I took. And I think that's a really valuable asset of mine. And I do think it makes me slightly different in this forum that I am in presently. Yeah, I'm almost making it difficult for them in that sense, because I will just sink into that brief and think, what exactly are they after? And then I work really hard. And sometimes it's really difficult. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have anybody that fits your brief, because I don't have anybody that fits their brief. And it's okay to not have someone that fits a brief. I would rather be celebrated as a casting director, as a casting professional, for someone who really listens and sees and hears my client, than just sends you 200 people of an afternoon and chews up your time. And it's an expensive business. You know, when you're there, when you're in the trenches casting, it's long days. And these poor guys, they're queuing up to come in. They think this is their minute and they're 15 minutes, and breaks my heart because I was on the other side of that as a model. Okay, I could never be an actor. I could never do what they do. And gosh, my hat is off to them. But I understand that. And it can be really brutal out there. And, you know, and really chips away at your soul when you're not, you know, when you've had like 5 castings in that day and you've not got one bite, you know. And, you know, for me, I mean, I was with a really big agency, so I was very lucky, I felt at the time, to be with such a prestigious agency. And don't get me wrong, I had some great work, and it really did pave my way and give me the attributes that I genuinely think they were in me, obviously, but they gave me the ingredients, the building blocks to go, actually, this is how I want to do it. That's not because I think you're bad at it, but I've taken the good bits and I've driven it and then made it my own. And I might be speaking for all casting directors right now, but I can only speak for myself in my process. And, you know, it's exhausting casting loads of people that don't fit, you know, because you've got to give them their little airtime. And also they're out there trying to pay their rent, their mortgages, you know, feed a family in some cases. And it's, you need to be mindful. You know, for me as a casting director, I have to be mindful of that. And so, yeah, I have no problem saying, I can't help you on this occasion, I'm sorry. And then I'll happily recommend other casting directors that might, because again, I'm no gatekeeper of this, you know, we're all in it together. but yeah, that's my process, my thought, and the drive I have as a casting director, and that's why I think it's my look, if you like. So I have done everything from micro budget to million budgets, everything in between. And I love both sides of that spectrum. Things I'm super proud of. I did a biopic last year, my first biopic, and it was so incredibly rewarding because you are casting real people. They have to not only be able to act and show their talent and be talented, but they also need to look and be like said character. And these characters, it was a boxing film, so these characters were very famous in their own right, bigger than most actors because of who they are. We're talking about, you think of one of the greatest actors, one of the greatest boxers, I'm talking about these guys. It was emotional, it was beautiful, it was so rewarding. I'm super proud of that. But I'm proud of every job I've done, actually, because I put my heart and soul. But that, as a casting director, is probably the one thing that I threw myself into it. I gave it hundreds and hundreds of hours working one-on-one with every actor, talking about dialect and just sending them clips of the real life boxer and just working with them tirelessly over weekends, and have come away with friends that I will die with, and people that I love and feel like I've known all my life and I've known a matter of years, and going to weddings, birth of their children. It's a beautiful platform. So I'm actually really proud of that, proud of everything. But if I was to name one thing, I hold my heart in that job. I really do. It is more than a job. I absolutely, I say that frequently to anyone that's not tired of hearing me say it. I love what I did there, but I also love what they gave back, because it's not just about me, it's everything about them. I give them, it's all in them, and all I can do is be the best I can be. But I like to see it through. I don't just, take a paycheck and go, that's me done, on to the next. I'm invested at that point, which is why I love actually going into the production side where I can on said production straight afterwards, because I'm not done at that point. I want to see it through to the end. I want to rap with them. I want to be in the trenches on set with them. As a creative producer, that's what I would do, which still marries itself with the casting. So I've worked with them on dialect and bring a dialect coach in. So, as a creative producer, it sits so comfortably with casting director. And I was told years ago that you've got to pick a lane. Why have you got to pick a lane? I'm good at all of that, and I love that, and people respond to me, and the proof is in the pudding, there really is. So I mean, there's kind of, for me, I'm quite a black and white person. I think the acting platforms are brilliant, so it's important that if you're self-repped, then you're on those platforms. And I'm talking about all the platforms. I don't know if I can name platforms, but you've got your Spotlight, you've got your V show cards, and then there's Backstage. There's so many of them. Getting yourself on there and representing yourself, making sure that you've got everything. If you're self-repping, but or equally your agent, a good agent will be out there repping for you, and just making sure that everything's up to date, So if you're a great horse rider, let it be known. If you've got all these languages, let it be known. If you do combat, let it be known, because it's information. Knowledge is power, right? Especially in the casting world, because, I know that I wouldn't say different to all casting directors, because that would be ridiculous to say that, but I very much want to watch a show reel, and I watch a show reel. I might not watch it in the time that it's, but I will go through the whole 3.5 minutes, because I might not find what I find in the first 2 minutes, but I might get that last 30 seconds. I'm like, and that is what I need. That is a person. That's how I need you to be. So, making sure that your information, that your material is up to date, your headshots are up to date. It is hard for us, for all of us, when we meet a person, we go, oh, you don't quite look like your pictures, or your show reel's quite out of date, isn't it? And it's sort of like, and it's, it needs to be it's your calling card, it is your calling card. So that's super important. So that is, for me, as I would say to the models back in the day, I'd say, look, you've got to invest in yourself. You know, you are your investment. So you've got to make sure that your headshots are up to date, that you're doing test shots when you can. Just keep everything fresh. Photographers, clients, agents, directors don't want to be seeing the same material coming back. And we do. We see a lot of material that's been, 10 years later. I saw that 10 years ago. I need to see some up-to-date stuff. Even if you're going off and doing some shooting that isn't film related, just get yourself in front of the camera, be fluid, show all your versatile sides, because it's really, really important. But it is not all the time, but I do find sometimes it's like, right, I want to make this money and this is what I want to do. I'm done. No, it doesn't stop there. You've got to keep on going. You have got to invest. You've got to invest. And it is hard because you've still got to pay the mortgage, you've got to pay your rent, still got kids' school fees, run the car, food shopping, all of that jazz. So it is hard, but it is an investment. You are your investment. So it's super important to keep that tight and up to date. You get blind to it. I casted a job. I'm casting a really big TV show. It's going to be 3 seasons. It's going to be enormous. And we've made the decision to do a bit of a Game of Thrones thing where we want to take actors and bring them up because there's so much talent out there. I put 12 characters out. I am going to say that 40%, forget the gender, so a male or female, they will apply for every same sex that they can. I'm like, well, how can that be David and also Kevin? They're wildly different. They're different characters. And your show role doesn't show that. But we get that a lot, and it's hard because it's hours spent going through these because you want to give everyone the airtime to make sure that you've looked at. I mean, we got 9,000 applicants in 3 days for that. But a lot of that was repetition. And a lot of these guys I'd seen before and their material hadn't been updated. Doesn't mean that they're not great, and they probably will be great for something, but I need something fresh. The brief, you can imagine my briefs are really tight. I work on brief. So I wrote this brief and it was so detailed. It was so specific of what I needed. And it was like, so I've got it down from 9,000. I've got it down to 52 people. Yeah. Took me 2 weeks of not doing anything else but watching show reels and just obviously deleting the ones I'm like, well, you're the wrong sex, so you come out of this pile, but stuff like that. But yeah, you've got to invest, and it sounds expensive. It doesn't need to be expensive. Get out there, get some headshots, do some work, do some shorts. Just get yourself out. But the material is king. It's key. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't happen as much these days because people have got a lot better. It's better. But my biggest pet hate has been for 30 years of doing this is when something comes in so studio, so heavily made up. So you've taken a person, girl next door, and then she comes out looking like she's in a pageant, and I can't because I want to see the skin. I want it to be, none of us really love seeing ourselves in the daylight of oh my gosh, is that what I actually look like? But as that's what we need to see. We need to see you. By all means, have some lovely glam stuff in there, but it can't be the first thing that we see, because sadly, when you're up against it and you've got 9,000 applicants in, you're running a project and you're going to go, not right, because you haven't got time to go right back to the archives, and that's what you look like. And that is exactly what we need. We need to see you. So we need fresh looks, nothing too heavily done over. If we're going to do you up, we'll do you up. That's what the film's for. If we want you to look like a particular era, then we will, but we need to see your skin. Really important, really important. And also the touching up of images, big no. Don't get me wrong, little tweak here and there never hurt anybody, but it has to be a true representation of what you will look like when you walk in to your casting. Because if you're going to get a call back, that's what you're aiming for, right? You want to be on that shortlist, you want to be called back in, but it puts you on the back foot. They could probably come in and do the best read for you, but instantly you're kind of going like this. And recently I've had this, I've gone, I'm so sorry. I think sorry, what's your name? Yes, thank you. I thought it was you, Amelia, thinking, doesn't fucking look like Amelia, and it wasn't Amelia, by the way. I changed names to save, but and it's like, oh my God. So instantly that's what's in your mind, and you're not actually looking at what said actor is then giving you. And it's like, but you don't look like we need you to look like that, not like, oh golly, so it's like, oh, okay, because it's the age thing. And I get that, being someone of an age, in this young person's industry, if you like. I get that. I totally get that. I'm often going, yeah, could you just get rid of a couple of years off those eyes? We do it, but I'm not an actor. I can do that. I need to see, we need to see, but we want the character. We want that, if you're casting like this TV show that I'm doing at the moment, it's period. It's brutal. It's about the iron industry. It's like they weren't in glam. There will be no glam. We want to see real people. We just want you for your talent. And it's that. I think it's a conflict, and I do get it to a degree. I do. But yeah, it's a big problem in our world. Raj, that is so true. Sometimes it's those little quirks. It's those little, the way someone curls their lip, that little crooked tooth, or I don't know, just all these gorgeous little things, the way their eyes just crease when they laugh, and all this ridiculously big, that's just like, oh, that's how we need Hannah to look. And it's just sort of like, you've just nailed it in that's how I want you to be. But then they're really self-conscious about it, because we live in a synthetic world, sadly, of, like you rightly said, we do this, we put a filter on, we go, oh my God, I'm gorgeous, then you post it. And you get a million likes, and it's brilliant. You feel electric. But really, people love you either way. The right people will love you either way. Then the people that are just loving that are just not your people, right? And it's the same for the casting world. We just there's so many gorgeous little things that people do that we love about them, that they hate about themselves. And like, please do that. That's how we want her to be. And they're like, oh, really? And you can just see them grow in that, and just, no, just, but you do get actors that come through that just totally embrace that. And that's doing the biopic actually really made me see that. And that's why I think I fell in love so much with that project, because it was just sort of like, it was raw, because it was a difficult subject, and it, and it was just, I was so in awe of these actors that were so beautiful, and they came in and had all the glam side of it, and then had to do the non-glam side of it. I'm like, wow, you wow me, love hearts in my eyes. Yeah, it's a really interesting question actually, because mainly it is brief. So if I'm looking for somebody, if I'm looking for someone with dark hair, then all the blondes and redheads are out straight away. So it doesn't mean that their shots aren't great, but they're out straight away. I know we can dye hair, but if we're talking like something where we've not got all the resources at hand, so let's make it basic for now. So that's interesting for me. I struggle talking about females, I struggle when I see a lot of false lash and a lot of falsified looks. So I need to know what someone, going back to what we said, I need to know what someone looks like. Equally, if it's a guy and I'm thinking, well, you're playing a 6-year-old, but you're definitely not looking 60 in this, because the beard's dyed, the hair's dyed, things like that. So I think it's kind of growing gracefully with your looks is quite important. But don't get me wrong, I mean, we all like to titivate, but I think that's actually very important. I think natural for me, but I speak for myself, but other people will have different opinions on this, but for myself, I think natural is better. So to having that clean look initially, you're because you'll have many pictures, but your thumbnail, the one that we're going to see that's going to hit me initially, I want it as natural as possible. I want, if your playing age is said age, I want you to look said age. I don't want to go in and then go, oh, actually, that is your age, but whoa, man, you've had a lot of work done or whatever. It doesn't marry. So your playing age needs to be dropped on Spotlight or wherever at that point, if that's where you're going. So I think for me, that's really, really important, for period stuff that I'm doing at the moment. It's actually, we want people to look like they are from that area. They won't have the big lips and the false eyelashes and the porcelain face because they got a farm, their kids down the iron mines, they live a hard life, man. It's a sort of like, so it has to be able to, fall into that field. So for me, fresh faces, lower your acting age if you wish to go, and just be as natural as you can. If you want to go into that serious playground, platform, that's you have to slip. Yeah, you have to click, which is interesting. And I'm trying to work out whether it's a good or bad thing right now, because I'm just trying to work that out for myself, because sometimes it's like, oh no, but oh yes, whereas now it's, oh, and I've got to do that. I do that because I'm, like I said earlier, I look at every image because I might not find what I'm looking for there, but I might have 3 minutes into the show reel. So I pride myself on that, because I think that's the right thing to do for me. But equally, I understand that lots of times you don't have the luxury of those man hours. On this particular job, I haven't got a casting team at the moment. So it's all me at this time. And it chews up, every weekend spent, because I have to honor these, had to close a lot of these campaigns early because of the volume I'm getting through, just so I can play catch up and just go, right, 9,000 is enough. I need to work through this. So, try not to be too precious about that. You might not like it, but if your agent's telling you that's the shot, then listen to your agent. An agent worth their salt will be giving you the right advice about what image to put up there. Equally, your homegrown images are not cutting it, because they are filtered and they aren't professional enough. And you need to invest in yourself, get out there, get some nice clean headshots done. It's super, super important. Yeah, I mean, starting with the consequences of getting it wrong, I won't mention the project because it's not yet hit. It's going to be theatrical release. However, getting it wrong can ruin a whole scene. So by someone being put into a place and then realizing that they're front facing quite a prolific actor, and then realizing that everything about their tiny part in this is so wrong and not necessarily their fault, that could be it could be many factors as to why they've been put in, and it can trash a whole scene, and it's a lot of editing, and it's very difficult to sometimes edit around these things, and nothing worse than shooting something and then your scene not quite making it, just ending up on the cutting room floor, because obviously there's different layers to the casting. So you've got your above the line casting, which is basically what the casting director would generally do, but then you've got or the other casting, which would fall into the AD department. And that department is really important as well. So the second AD will be really working hard at getting these right people in. And that can't be something that's jogged, you can't jog along with that. You've got to really work, you've got to really think about that, because these are the actors that will be in a scene with your number one and might actually not be quite up to the job, but not because they're terrible, but it's just not, they're not the right person for the job. So that is super important. Casting can be a little bit of unsung heroes, because no one goes, oh, very rarely someone goes, oh, great casting. It's great when it does happen. But it is so important, because, you've got all this other amazing stuff put in place. And then that one scene sort of like, that doesn't work because of this, and that's all we've got because that sets up this scene, and you can't cut it out, so it's got to be used. So a lot of money is spent kind of trying to fudge around things like that, but then equally getting it so right just elevates. You can take a low budget small production, and with the right casting just make it something so magnificent, and then, oh my gosh, this must have cost millions. Absolutely not. But this is really great production, fantastic director, the writing's incredible, and the casting just brings out, because it just they all, you work together, it's a team thing. No one person, you can't do without any of those elements in film. They're all really, really important. But yes, casting is often never celebrated, but when it is, it's brilliant. It's great. We love it. We'll take what we can. keep your headshots very important, and show reel up to date. Do as much, if you have to do the free work to keep it all fresh and present and current, then do it, because you are investing in yourself. Get yourself out there, be seen, go to the exhibitions, the expos, the actors expos, and all the wonderful things that are available to us. Rain dance are amazing. Get yourself out there, be seen, be willing, just put yourself in front of people, and be on your, if you're self-repped, then be your own best representation. And have a look at who's casting what, send them a little note. If you might not always get an answer, but it's just good to put yourself in there. Don't hound people, but get yourself out there. Don't be shy to do that, but equally be on your agent's case. They're repping lots of people, they're doing the best they can. It's there's a lot to be done out there, but put yourself forward, CC them into the emails. You're not being underhand by doing that, but it's really helpful. Often, I will go, Ashley, I got an email last week. He's perfect for this. And then I'll message him. I'll message his agent and go, thank you for sending me that. This is exactly what we're looking for right now. So, just get yourself out there. Don't be shy. I mean, don't be annoying, but don't be shy to put yourself out there. But do get to premieres and do go and support independent film. It's so important. There's loads of great filmmakers out there doing wonderful things, and they're pleading, they're begging for people to come along and help and be seen and work. And yes, it's not going to be your equity rates, but you're out there working with like-minded people. So important. I'm on a super low budget at the moment, in between two massive millions of pound films, because I love the director. I'm loving it. He's like, why are you doing this? I'm like, because you're brilliant and this script is amazing. Why would I not want to do this in between two films? I'm not doing anything right now. I'm casting stuff, but I want to be on this, So even somebody who's got, 32 years in the industry doing this, I'm still out there doing that. I'm still out there hustling, if you like, going to these premieres, hanging out with these amazing writers and directors, because we're in it together, guys. It's the independent film. Let's celebrate each other and, support each other. So that's my advice. It's probably more than 3 points, but I could talk about hours for this. I mean, I could literally sit here for the next 3 hours talking about this, Rog. But, it is. I mean, I had an actor this week who has bought a ticket to a premiere for a director who's doing a mid-range, it's under 1 million, it's under 500 actually, but she's bought the ticket, and I was actually thinking of her for a role. He calls me this week and goes, so-and-so just bought a ticket. I went, oh yeah, we're going to hang out at the premiere. He goes, just bumped her up to VIP, Joe. And yes, she can do that role that you've put her forward to. This is what I like. Because there was 3 people in the running for that, but she just catapulted herself, because this is what it's about. We need to support each other. I'm going to support you. You're supporting me. We are in this together. We all want to do the same thing, right? Let's help each other. So that they are my many advices.